Bonjour, je suis Lydia Carradine et c'est mon channel Melanated Hyphenated Convalescent de une femme noire au cinéma très malade et très fatiguée. Look at me learning. If you're new here, I'm Lydia Carradine. This is Melanated Hyphenated Convalescent, where I talk about being a Black woman in the film industry, dealing with 3 chronic illnesses. And I'm sort of shifting now to talking about how I'm holding my career loosely in my hand as I really try to focus on my health and adjust to life in Paris. As you can see, I'm in a different location than the last 2 videos. Another Black woman expat very generously invited me to stay with her for a little bit, so I'm in a better space. Still battling the Paris rental market. We'll see what happens. But I feel like things have shifted. I have a couple of leads, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, today I want to talk about, and just for people if you are new, I look at my notes a lot because I have long COVID, chronic fatigue syndrome, and a pituitary black adenoma, which is a brain tumor. I have a lot of brain fog, so I will be referencing a lot. Yes, also tripod still not in play. We're gonna find it. It's gonna show up. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about some of the practical things I did to prep before I moved to Paris. I will talk about my visa process in another video, but that has to be like factual, and I should probably like give you some research. And what do I not have right now? The energy for all that. So that's for another day. So I had already, as I mentioned, I downsized in September when I moved out of the place that I've been for 9 years. I got rid of all of my furniture, a lot of clothes because of everything I'm going on with my health. I lost a lot of weight, so I can't fit a lot of the things that I had. Got rid of a lot of clothes, just a lot of like stuff that one accumulates after 9 years. And like old luggage, things like that. And every time I was staying with some different friends and family in LA, I would like leave new things like, okay, I'm not gonna take these cleaning supplies with me. These like door hooks or like makeup I'm not gonna use, or like if someone said they liked something I was wearing, I was like, have it, just have it. So yeah, I left a lot of things like that. And then so when I moved out in September, I had a storage unit and it was 5 by 10. And I was lied to because of the nature of storage units. Online, it showed a 5 by 10, like a small walk-in closet. Yes? I said, okay, I can do this. No, what I got was like a horizontal crawl space situation that you have to go up to on a ladder. And it was 10 feet across, but 5 feet up. So like you can't stand up in it. But anyways, when I realized, okay, I'm leaving the country, I was like, I'm downsizing again. I'm not keeping all of this stuff. I don't want it. And a lot of it were even like clothes that I had kept because I was like, I'll fit them again. So I downsized to a 5 by 5 as half of that. It's literally just like a box, like a box size space. So yeah, I basically decided I was like, I'm only gonna keep the things that I will eventually ship to myself in Paris. So got rid of more clothes and my ballet bar. I'm very, very sad. I had a portable ballet bar. I had to get rid of that. So now it's just like a few clothes that I can fit, but just didn't want to bring with me because of like space. I'll talk about that later. Clothes that I can fit. My roller skates, my records and my record player, the drumsticks I have from when I played drums as a child, and my books. I have a lot of books, but you can use media mail. It used to be called like book rate at the post office. I don't know if that works internationally, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. A daily would say get rid of everything, but I think the things that I have can like fit into maybe 3 suitcases. So it's not like I'm trying to ship like a bed or something like that. All that has been given away or donated or whatever. So I left LA with 2 large suitcases, a carry-on, and like a shoulder bag. But it was really, really cumbersome, which I had originally been like, I'm going with 1 suitcase. But then I was like, I have all this stuff. But I couldn't. I was too weak, and it just was like the suitcase wheels didn't match up and stuff. I was like, I'm not doing this. I can't do it. And I had to pay 150 for each bag, so $300 because they were over 50 pounds. And it doesn't matter apparently if it's 51 pounds, they're still gonna charge you. So that's something to keep in mind if your suitcases are overweight. I mean, I guess you can choose like if you want to check another bag or just pay the extra weight fee, but that's something that you're gonna have to think about based on how much stuff you're taking. Um, so when I got to my parents' house in the Midwest, I was like, I have to shed a suitcase because I was like, I can't do this again. I can't do this on my own. Um, and so I flew JetBlue to Paris. Now I researched their like baggage, their shipping, whatever policies, and so you can take up to 99 pounds if you're flying domestically, but internationally the limit is they say 70, but really it's like if it's at 70, then you can't. So like 69 pounds is how heavy your bag can be. So I spent the whole week like editing, like, okay, like what don't I need? Like no duplicates of any kind. I had to leave more shoes, which was really sad for me. And more clothes. And I just was like, okay, I'm not good. Like, it's gonna be at my parents' house. It's fine. I don't need it. You might be asking, how did you make this decisions about what you were gonna take and what you were not gonna take? I just really prioritized things that were most important to me and like not easily replaceable, at least not immediately before I really like knew the city and got my bearings. So for me, that was skincare. I have gone through a lot in the past couple of years because of the chemo and then the way that it made my pituitary gland react. I developed really, really bad cystic acne, like worse than puberty, worse than it was ever in high school. And so I had to spend months sort of doing a lot of trial and error, wrestling my skin back to like normalcy, like some sense of normalcy. And I can't get a lot of the products that I use, they don't ship to Europe. So I was willing to sacrifice like shirts and like heavy dresses or whatever for like extra bottles of my face wash because like I can't run out. We can't do that. My hair products, I surmised from like expat groups and research, I can get most of that here. So I put like some like trial size bottles, but the weight that I knew would come from liquids was really like a lot of skincare. I basically have a capsule wardrobe now, which is fine because those are things that I can find. When you're thinking about what to keep, especially shoes, think about the terrain where you're going. So I read a lot of articles about like what footwear to wear in Paris because there are like a lot of cobblestone streets. It's like maybe don't bring all your heels because that's not really practical. And it rains a lot. The streets aren't that dirty. They can be. I haven't actually encountered that, but that people say like the streets are gross, and I'm like, okay, well, if you've been to New York, I don't know, but people like don't clean up after their dogs and they leave it in the sidewalks. Like things to keep in mind wherever you're going. Like what practically do you want on your feet so you're like set up for success? And another thing I had to make space for was my meds. I had like a 28-day pill organizer because I'm on so many meds, so many prescriptions, but I obviously couldn't fit that, so I had to get like a smaller one that's just a week. I brought enough of my prescriptions for a few months, and I have people in the States to pick up my meds from both of my pharmacies, because of course I have to go to 2 different pharmacies, and then like eventually I can get my prescriptions filled here for the most part, and then I'll have people like periodically ship me what I need. which is expensive. So just like if you're gonna have to do that, just like have that in your mind if you can't get everything in the country you're going to. It's also important to know before you travel what meds and substances are allowed where you're going to, because everything is not allowed everywhere, and the US classifies drugs differently. So things that are considered more benign here are like equal to not meth, but they're just like, no, you can't. But conversely, you can get things that you like, you can walk into a prescription and the pharmacist can prescribe it to you. Walk into a pharmacy and the pharmacist will prescribe it to you instead of having to go to a doctor and do all of that. So just like research that, know what you can access and what you can bring with you before you get on the plane, like please, because you don't want an international incident. And even if that doesn't happen, you don't want to have something confiscated that you really need. And then you're like in between airports or wherever, like just make sure you know. Oh, also you're going to want to have your prescriptions like printed if you do have to show them to someone at customs or TSA. So I just made sure like I had like my most recent one. So it's like, I actually need this, have it in the original bottle. Very important, very helpful. So it doesn't just like look like you're dealing. Airlines don't like that. I will say, when I was leaving LAX, I had all of my meds in like the bag I was carrying, and the TSA person flagged me, and so she was going through my bag, and I was like, these are prescriptions, here are my prescriptions, these are my meds. And I thought that was the reason why. And then she was looking through my stuff and I was like, what? I have normal things in here, like my computer. She said, because of where my EpiPen was in my bag, the way that it showed up on the monitor in proximity to my computer, my laptop, she didn't want to say the word bomb, but she was just like, it doesn't look good. And I was like, oh, okay. But so I was like, okay, well, like, what do she was like, just like move it to the other side. Like, don't put your EpiPen and your laptop next to each other. I was like, okay, great. Now I know. I think it also probably helped that I have TSA PreCheck and global entry. So they know that you've been vetted. And these are like helpful time-saving things, but also just so they're like, okay, you're not a threat. You're just like a Victorian lady with consumption. Go to your gate, it's fine. But just things to have in mind. Also, before you leave, wherever you're going, you might want to register with STEP. That is the State Department's program. You can use an app. And basically, they will send you updates about like security, updates about wherever you're going. And if they're like, whatever threat level it is, if there's some sort of like civil war breaks out or something. And also you'll want to put like, you have the option to put like at least your phone number and your email, but you can put the address you're supposed to be at. So if there like is a skirmish, if there's something serious that happens, the embassy knows to be like, okay, where are the Americans in this country? Let's contact them if you need to be evacuated immediately. So that's something to think about. Let's see. Before I left, I also sold my car. I was going to keep it because I've developed what I think is a perfect system. So I lived in the Valley, and I would drive to WeHo. My friend would drive me the rest of the way to LAX, and then he would take my car and drive it while I was out of town. And like I did this when I would go out of town, like for longer periods of time. And this worked for years for us. Because listen, if you are going to ask someone to take you to LAX, it needs to be beneficial for them. Otherwise, you don't love them, because real friends do not ask friends to take them to that place. You just don't do that. That's not nice. Like, you get in a Lyft and pay $70 to $90 like a civilized person. You don't ask anybody to take you to LAX. It's rude, honestly. Anyways, I was gonna let him do what we always do. But I was thinking, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to think about insurance if I need like some repairs. And I was like, I'm gonna be gone longer than I usually am. And it would make more sense for me to have the money now instead of worrying about a car that I'm not driving and don't intend to drive again anytime soon. Um, so I sold my car. And that I think was a good decision. Just one less thing tying me to the States. And yeah, those are the like the biggest practical things that I did before I left. I will link the video of Adelia helping Roshida clean out her storage unit that she'd had it for 5 years and then came back and cleaned it out. If you need some motivation to get rid of things, it's I think one of the only good things about moving so much as a child and throughout my life is that it's easier for me to just like get rid of objects because I've had to. And so it's like, how sentimental is this really for me? And I can just be like, okay, well, like, I don't need this right now. Or I'm like saving it, knowing I haven't worn it in the last like 3 years. Like, it really, like, I know I'm not like most people, but it really is easy for me to be like, okay, no, thank you, next. I'm done with this thing. Someone else can use it, or it's old or whatever. Um, but yeah, watch those because they're very entertaining. And you're gonna have to deal with that stuff eventually, for one, if you leave and come back or whatever, or you're just gonna have to keep paying for the unit. Mine is only $40 a month. And at the end of this year, I don't know what my next visa will be, but I'm gonna make an assessment then. I'm not gonna be paying that forever. Someone told me that she knows an expat who came to Paris with 16 says 16 suitcases. How do you 16? And I'm like, okay, well, you didn't want a new life. You wanted your old life with the new scenery. Like for me, this is about like starting fresh. And what I usually see when people are like, I'm starting my move abroad journey, usually I see like they take between 4 to 6 suitcases, which if you're taking things, like I get, it's sometimes better to put like, I don't know if you, like I have a lot of, like I crochet and stuff. So if you're going to take like all of your art supplies or whatever, it might make more sense to put it in a suitcase than to ship it. Not might, it usually is more cost effective to do that. So I get that. But 16 is a lot. Also, if it's like your wardrobe, you can buy clothes anywhere. And from what I've seen and observed and heard, it seems like French people are less materialistic. So like if you wear the same thing more than once, it's fine. No one's gonna like DM du moi and tell on you. Like you're fine. So yeah, those are the things that I did before I left. Give yourself a lot of time to do these things, especially if it is harder for you to get rid of things. Like I understand. I understand. So give yourself time to like really think about like what's important to you to keep, what's important for you to save, because you don't have to get rid of everything before you leave. And where you want to keep those things. If you have someone who has the space where you can store it, look into those options as well. But yeah, I will have links below and merch below. And I will see you all later. À bientôt. À demain. Bonne journée. Au revoir.